tempestuous in our love for the enduring trees and the snowfall, the brook noise and coins, songs, appetites. And with the one we love most, the mated one, we lose track of ourselves in who's giving, who's taking that fleshy pleasure. We call those calmings away, those ecstasies, dyings. We see them as a diligent rehearsal. The love of living disturbs me. I am racked like a Puritan by eros and health, almost undone by brotherhood. Rages of happiness seize me. The world, the fair world. And I call on the name of the dark healer, Freud. His appetites, songs, orgasms died away. His young brother, his daughter, his huge father, until he saw that the aim of life was death. But a man cannot learn heroism from another. He owes the world some death of his own invention. Then he said, "My dear Schur, you certainly remember our first talk. You promised me then not to forsake me when my time came. Now it is nothing but torture and makes no sense anymore." Schur gave him 2 centigrams of morphine. At what cost, he said it, so diligent of life, so curious we can't guess, who are still his conjurings. He told us it is impossible to imagine our own deaths. He told us this may be the secret of heroism. It's a beautiful homage to Sigmund Freud. So we'll begin with this book of mine. Here are some recent dead, including our dear friend Valentin, who was at his computer and slipped off and had a heart attack and flew away. But very sad about his going. I was reading a lot of Camus at the time, and that's what this first poem is about. And I think what I'd like to do is to have Tom read the epigraph, which is from Camus' La Peste, De Peste. So do you see that, Tom, on page 5 at the top? Would you read the French, please?
Le bacille de la peste ne meurt ni ne disparaît jamais. Tu peux rester pendant des dizaines d'années endormi dans les meubles et les linges, quand il atteint passionnément dans les chambres, les caves, les malles, les mouchoirs et les paperasses, et que peut-être le jour viendra où, pour le malheur et l'enseignement des hommes, la peste réveillerait les serrats et les enverrait mourir dans une cité heureuse.
Right. And he's translated that into Dutch as well. The plague bacillus never dies or vanishes entirely. It can remain dormant for dozens of years in furniture or clothing. It waits patiently in bedrooms, cellars, trunks, handkerchiefs, and old papers. And perhaps the day will come when, for the instruction or misfortune of mankind, the plague will rouse its rats and send them to die in some well or contented city. I write like New York. Hitler dead, Mussolini gone, Pétain in the ash can of history, but the rats are out again, nova virus, nova fascism. Can we muster the compassion Camus felt in the middle of it all, his sympathy for humanity, at the risk of turning evil into a banality, as Hannah Arendt would have it? Disease, separation, and exile come upon us unexpectedly, absurdly. And the only way to fight the plague is with decency, Camus tells us. But how can we not blame our country now, left and right? How can we find the will to resist compromise, to survive, to love? This is the political status that we're in right now. It's fractured. And I guess he'll run again, apparently. That's the whole thing. But we won't get into politics too much. I'd like to read a little poem called Summer.
I've been up since 3:30. Boot. I'll have to come down and see.
Summer.
Come to New York. Yeah.
Summer Landing.
I need to
We'll take the
rest.
train up again.
For Andrew.
I'd like to drive.
Here at senior housing, which is where I live over in Groton, the first firefly of summer sets off his torch over the fields. Low, 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 electric on the night, and at the edge of the field a little Bambi with white spots, about the tiniest deer ever, hanging out with her mother until she sees me and hightails it, not fully white yet, into the forest. When we were children, grown Bambis, we would crouch underneath the fireflies to see them against the evening sky and flap them down, blinking there in the grass, to put into a bottle with holes at the top and a little grass to make a summer lantern. This virus has slapped me down. I'm in a jar, blinking with all the other old people, remembering summer, what it has been, and what it may yet be with the first firefly of summer. So for me, they become a kind of a symbol, a torch for the future. I had a friend who helped me with what they call a live-in aid until he went living somewhere else. Mike was his name. And this is for Mikey. Pepperoni, it's called. Whenever it's on sale, which is always, Mikey buys one bag of pepperoni so he can get the second one free. When you open the dangerous door of our refrigerator now, bags of pepperoni fall out like frogs from heaven. It isn't a bargain if you don't need it, my dad always said. How much pepperoni can two guys and a dog eat? I'll go to the bank and get wine and salmon for tonight's party, I text Mikey. And shrimp, he texts back. In the immortal words of Mick Jagger, you can't always get what you want, Mikey. You get what you need. But you are sweet, and a nor'easter is about to blow down on us. I guess we need shrimp, and maybe some pepperoni. So that's pepperoni. Do you want to read the translation, Tom?
Pepperoni, zoiets te zijn. Pepperoni. Wanneer het een koopje is, en dat is altijd zo, koopt Mickey een pak pepperoni, zodat hij de tweede gratis kan krijgen. Wanneer je nu de gevaarlijke deur van onze koelkast opent, vallen er pakken met pepperoni uit, zoals kikkers uit de hemel. Het is geen koopje als je het niet nodig hebt, zei mijn vader altijd. Hoeveel pepperoni kunnen 2 kerels en een hond eten? Ik zal naar de bank gaan en ik zal wijn halen en zalm voor het feest van vanavond. En garnalen verstuur ik naar Mickey. Hij zendt me de onsterfelijke woorden van Mick Jagger terug. Je kan niet altijd krijgen wat je wil. Mickey, je krijgt wat je nodig hebt. Maar jij bent lief en een noordoostenwind zal hier straks hevig bij ons waaien. Ik denk dat we garnalen nodig hebben. En misschien wat pepperoni.
We have our little dog here with us, stickers on the back of the cover as well. This poem is called Home Alone. When I was a kid, my parents left me. They abandoned me. They forgot me. When we were on a family errand, you know, when you have a lot of rugrats around, that tends to happen. This is called Home Alone. When I was 5, maybe 6, my parents loaded all 4 kids into the Chevy for a visit to Grandma, stopping at a fruit stand along the way. After a while, wandering among the baskets of peaches, I realized I didn't see them anywhere. I guess I pretended which basket I was going to tell Mother to buy. But eventually it dawned on me that they had left me, and I was too embarrassed to cry or tell the man at the fruit stand they had forgotten me. Understandable, I guess, to lose track of one rugrat. But I believe that was the day I became her favorite for the guilt she carried the rest of her life. I think of the sentimental Christmas carol that's popular this year, where Mary looks into the face of her baby and sees the face of God. I see her grieving at the foot of the cross, looking down on her in pity, their love sustaining them. I remember the long afternoon my own mother died as we listened to gospel songs throughout the day and ate peaches of forgiveness. I sometimes do a Bible study with a group of Episcopalians, and Alma is very big on the Passion of the Christ and so forth. And we send peaches back and forth to each other. She's a lovely woman, Southern. transformation. Transfiguration. I'm thinking of Lubomir Levchev here. It is said they linger with us 40 days after their passing. They dawdle among us, looking in on our time of need, reluctant to leave the sweet earth, dragging their feet. And so the dear ghost is with us still, cannot yet, for the love of us, illuminate into his divinity on Tabor Mountain, and leave us looking heavenward for after. For afterward. I'll read one more in this sort of liturgical. Where are we? Are we close to Easter now? I guess we passed it, didn't we? It's always coming, Easter. This is called Saturday Holy Week. And there's an epigraph here by Percy Shelley from Ode to the Grecian. In the poem, Shelley says, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." And I write, I guess the world really will return to some kind of normal afterwards, the way trees and ferns fanned out in primavera glory after the bubonic plague. I'll fly away for sure someday, as we all will, and what will the world make of my little spirit, which has walked for a while among others, walking this poor burgeoning planet? The day before his resurrection, what was he thinking? I've always wondered, before the angel descended and rolled away the great rock, keeping him in the dark, dreaming of the gates of hell as his blood pooled beneath him. Here lies one whose name was writ in water, Keats requested for his tombstone. In fact, the poem seemed writ in blood, indelible, despite the fact that he turned into ashes there on the Spanish steps. Nothing matters, my mother's friend pronounced as she lay dying. The dead in Italy and all over the world would agree. The mystery of being. Can it possibly end? Can it possibly matter? This our dark rumination as we lie on stone with our brother waiting for the light. And I'll read one final one here. Spring, it's called. I think, as I was remembering that month in mystical rehabilitation, I was thinking of all the poor dead, who have passed on now, and the suffering that they went through. So much suffering that we have to get over. So that's pandemic. Anyway, suddenly spring. This is it. One final quick one. Right. One final quick one.
One more.
Suddenly spring. Has someone planted them? Or is it life mysteriously renewing itself inside and outside of time, like God? Crocus appear in the damp earth like the breath of eternity. We are over it. One hopes that we're over it. I think that's it. That I was. We're pretty much on time, aren't we? For 2:03. Oh, we have a little bit more time. Thanks for coming, son. Keith.
My Facebook, please, or just I'll send you pictures.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good. You want to read that one, please, Tom? Spring.
Suddenly spring. Plotseling lente. Heeft iemand zich geplant, of is het leven, op mysterieuze wijze zichzelf vernieuwend, binnen en buiten de tijd, zoals God? Krokussen verschijnen in de natte aarde zoals de adem van eeuwigheid. Het ligt achter ons.
I'll read one more called Snow Day. And I think we can all appreciate that living in New England. let's see, where do I have here? 154. Snow day. The cars are all blanketed in snow. Windshield wipers turned up against freezing like antlers. The parking lot has become a herd of reindeer. The dog tiptoes gently on the diamond crust, but sinks up to her chin when the snow gives way and she must hop like a kangaroo to escape the field. The mind contemplating snow is the true mind, the poet tells us. The mind figuring out how to shovel yourself out when the snowplow plows you in is a blizzard afterthought. If I have a ham and a loaf of bread, Mother always said, I can survive a storm. I've got both, thanks to Meals on Wheels, who miraculously has made it through like the U.S. Postal Service. Forget black ice for the moment. Turn on a faux fireplace on the TV and pour yourself a stiff eggnog. Everyone deserves a snow day. Put on your slippers, take out the novel you've been meaning to get to, make a hot ham sandwich, and let tomorrow take care of itself. I guess we all have to learn that, don't we? Catherine. There's one final one I'll read to you. Because we seem to be doing pretty good on time. We have the room from 1 to 3, I think. But this is called Waking. And Steve Strait is a wonderful farmer poet. He reminds me of Wendell Berry a little bit, you know. He's just a genuine, a really fine poet. And he's written a little poem called Chipmunk. It's called Vincent, actually, because the chipmunk has lost an ear. And this is a chipmunk that he has trained every year to come to his hand and eat a black seed or what have you. And so he's really saying, what's going on? This year the chipmunk hasn't returned. You know, it's a mystery. What's going on? And then he ends with a kind of a Buddhist response to that. He says, could it be the orange-shouldered hawk that got him? Is it a normal aging process, which must be very difficult for a chipmunk because they're very short-lived? This is called Waking. At the edge of the field in a light rain, 8 wild turkeys huddle in a blue scrum before vanishing into the woods. I think of the wounded chipmunk who comes to be fed after his wounds have healed and breathe deeply in the palm of the present to savor what is and shuck what isn't. I've spent some days ruminating over lost loves, lost opportunities. Forgetting the past and future now, I wake to the fresh broom washing my face. The dog stands in shock until the birds vanish and the sun clears the mist, a crystal moment at the start of day. And that's the final poem. I guess we have more time than I had thought. So I'll just read. Well, this would be pandemic advice from a senile friend. She's got the American version of Bats in the Belfry, raccoons in the attic. Medicare will pay for a good neurologist. What pill can Melania give her hubby for heartworm? But the exterminator comes out of pocket, let him put on a mask and gloves and trap them with peanut butter or whatever raccoons like and put them out to pasture in some other neighborhood. Just don't let one of the rabid little bastards bite you. You don't want things to get any more complicated than they already are. So I think I'm going to end it with that little poem, and maybe we can take any questions that you have for Tom. I hope I haven't taken too much of the stage here, Tom. We flew in all the way from Belgium. We picked him up. He made it, you know, and we had a long drive, and I think that's where my leg got filled up with clots again, or my hips, or I don't know what's going on with me. I may have to go to an ear. But I'm here, you know. Tom's here. We made it. We made it. Good for you, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Where did you fly into, Tom? Did you come to JFK or
To Newark.
Newark?
Newark,
Yeah,
right.
That's a hectic airport.
Yeah.
You know, I thought about Bradley would have been okay too. That's an international airport now. It's much closer, but I don't know whether Belgium to Bradley. I forgot.
I don't know where they go.
Yeah, I mean it's closest.
Yes.
And how long are you here?
I'm here for 10 days.
Oh, very
10
nice.
days and 11 days. Yes. It's
Did you
nice.
see the ocean when you were traveling over? Did you have a window seat at all, or?
I didn't have a window seat. I was in the middle of the
Oh,
plane,
good.
but there was not so much space. But I read a little bit. It's okay. It's always nice to see the culture somewhere. To know. Well, I don't know, but I know that Mark Twain was living not so far from here.
Hartford, right? Yeah.
So,
Mark Twain House.
Is it your first time here?
It's my first time in
Ah.
Harteis. Yes.
So what is on your agenda to do?
Well, I hope maybe New York could be to visit New York.
We're going to go down there for a couple of days.
Mhm.
We have a little hotel outside of the city,
Oh, that's good.
you know, from Long Island City. You can, and then I reserved a bus, one of these open air buses, you know, where you can get on and get off, and then get in wherever you want. And Tom's very anxious to see MoMA, and the Red Sox play a baseball game. You know, a lot to do in the 2 days that we have lined up for that. But we'll see New York anyhow. It'll be first time.
Okay.
So
Maybe you have some questions about Europe or Belgium.
I have a silly question. Why does Denmark celebrate the orange color?
The orange color.
Yeah, aren't they like when they celebrate they always have orange on?
Orange is the Dutch ones.
Oh, Dutch. Okay.
Yes, because they have the Prince of Orange
Oh.
has established this country, and then orange and oranje it's the same.
Okay.
Yes,
but that's a Protestant color, isn't it? I mean, Protestant color. I mean, in Ireland, it's the orange, the Irish.
Well, the Prince of Oranje, and
Okay.
orange is Oranje.
Okay.
So it was a prince called, for example, for their soccer team, which is very good. Also,
Mhm.
they
They're
use
good.
the color orange, and they have like King's Day is very
Okay.
important for them,
Oh, it is.
and then everyone is dressed in orange.
Okay.
Was that the House of Orange that came to England
The House of
in
Orange.
late 1600s?
Yes.
Yeah. The Windsors.
And, yeah.
Well, the Windsors are.
They told me that the contact between Holland and New York is very good.
It's
I
different.
think it's very good.
Very good.
And
Yeah.
I think the
Mm.
king now from Holland or the Netherlands. In fact, Holland is a province in the Netherlands, the main province. And well, the king came to New York to visit.
Mm.
To know the history of
I should have read Junior Patnode's biography here, but you know her work from being from New London. She specializes in traditional Chinese watercolor paintings as well as being adept in modern formats and calligraphy. With Chinese watercolor, there are not only two different techniques, the Jai, which is freehand done quickly, and Genobi, which is meticulous traditional realism, yet each done with a different kind of rice paper. In each technique there are three styles: flower and animal, landscape, portrait. As part of the Chinese Cultural Revolution, Junior specializes in the flower and animal style, yet is also well versed with landscape. Junior's been influenced by traditional Chinese culture and artists, and has also been influenced by exposure to Western culture and artists. With private and corporate experience as a designer, Junior has worked in a trademark design for China packaging import and export and Qinghai trademark firm, 2006. People of her designs and trademarks have gone into successful products and marketplace, and her designs have also appeared in book covers and in publications. She recently married the American artist Mark Patno, who's with us too, and lives and works in New London. And as I say, that final image of hers is a beautiful symbol of hope. Rita Dolly did this really terrifying image of the pandemic. And Rita's kind of a local shaman, but so we've included both, you know, this image of hope and this image of death, I guess.
Is that a lily or a lotus?
It's a lotus, I think,
Okay.
right?
Lotus.
Lotus, lotus blossom.
Yes, in the mud.
In the mud,
Yeah.
right. Growing out of the mud. Well, you're very sweet to come.
One more question. Can you,
Go ahead.
Tom, how would you describe the literary scene in Belgium, like in Brussels in particular? What's happening there now?
Well, in fact, in Belgium we have two languages, maybe
Mhm.
three. There are officially we have three languages: Dutch, Flemish. In fact, it's Dutch, French, and German. There's a little part in Belgium that
Mhm.
speaks German. Well, and that's for literature you need that language. So there's the Flemish literature, and I think that the literature in French is more known because people can use French, and French is well, some people, for example, Amélie Nothomb, she went to Paris, and well, her books are very known, like Stupeur et Tremblement. She lives now in Paris, Amélie Nothomb. I'll give you a book. But I don't know, but maybe it sounds strange, but that we have also Stromae, but I don't know if you know the name. We performed here, and so we made some songs.
Is the focus more on poetry or prose there in
They
Belgium?
both have, but I would say it like this: in Belgium, in Flanders, we have 3 or 4 big cities. We call it the triangle.
Mm.
We have, you already know, sir. So we have Brussels, and then a little more up to the north, Antwerp, and then we have
Mhm.
Ghent, and then between, inside that triangle, a lot happens.
Mhm.
And there are performances over there in those cities, and a lot of people can perform with poetry, sometimes slam poetry. But I'm not into slam poetry, but I like it, it's no problem, but I like it when also a poem is written down.
Mhm.
Tom was going to bring his girlfriend, Ionela, from Romania, who thought this might be a honeymoon trip, but that will be down the road, perhaps, I don't know.
I'll go to
He just had a birthday a couple of days ago, so it's that time of the year for young Tom to start thinking about children, and so it's going to change your life, Tom. Well, you know, Catherine, right? It changes your life.
Oh, yeah.
And
So his girlfriend didn't make it here?
no, she didn't make it. Oh, I forgot the most important thing. This is Tom. You know, the award comes with expenses, all expenses paid kind of thing. But we found one little thing at Sarah Monroe's gift shop. And this is from Holland. I figured how appropriate. Well, it's like, you know, Dutch, you
Like
know.
carrying coal to Newcastle kind of thing?
It's got all of the different things. It's got Avery Point Lighthouse, which we saw the other day, the Morgan Point Lighthouse, the Mystic Seaport Lighthouse,